Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Screen Cap. I'm your host, Cenon, and I'm with
Avie. Hi.
yeah. And today, it's we are going to have a very special guest. She's a writer, a script writer, a script doctor, who is based in Paris. She taught at La Femis in Paris. She's also the president and the founder of Dreamago, that organizes the Plume and Pellicule Writers Residency in Sierre, Switzerland. And it's now on its no they just finished the 20th year. They're now working towards the 21st year. We would like to welcome our very special guest, Miss Pascale Rey.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Cenon. Hello, Avie.
Hi,
Pleased
Hi,
to meet you.
Pascale. Yeah, and thank you for saying yes to our to Screen Cap.
It's always a pleasure to go to the Philippines without taking a plane, even.
Yeah. Before we start with the questions, with the interview, with the interrogation,
yes.
we just want to I just want to mention that Pascal was actually came here to the Philippines to hold script writing workshops, a few years ago, for 4 consecutive years. Can you tell us what the experience was like?
Well, that was great because it's La Femis where I was teaching, as you just said it, and they asked me, "Would you like to teach or to have a workshop for Filipinos?" And I thought, "Oh, why not?" I thought Filipinos would come to Paris, so I think, "Great, why not? I can, with pleasure." And then they said, "No, no, no, you need to go to the Philippines." And I said, "I didn't know. I didn't even know where it was exactly. I knew about Japan." Close by, but I didn't know exactly where it was. So I said yes because I love to discover new culture, new countries, and new people. And so I went for the first time to the Philippines. You're right, years ago, and it was so amazing because I just discovered a wonderful country, but particularly I just adore the Filipinos because I think it's a different culture, and they are very open, maybe very sentimental, but we are also. And so there are lots of bridges between our culture, many more than what I thought, and I really enjoyed very much. So it was my huge pleasure when I saw that they ask me again and again and again. So I've been teaching in UP for great writers in the Philippines.
Okay, so are you coming back to the Philippines anytime soon?
I would love to. I would love to. Actually, I wrote a script that should be shot half. I mean, so three part of the script should be shot in the Philippines. So we cross the fingers that it's going to happen.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
very
okay.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually nice. Before anything else, I'm very curious. How did you discover your love for cinema? When did you realize that, oh, I love the cinema and I want
Oh,
to become a writer for cinema?
that's not the way it happened. Of course, love for cinema was since I first went to a movie because I adore stories. I like hearing about different destinies. I love fiction. I was a big reader. I've read a lot during my childhood, and I really loved writing. And I think it's writing that came first because I used to write for everything. I wrote lots of letters. I wrote letters for my friends, separation letter, love letter. So I used to be like a public writer for my friends. And also I wrote to my parents very often. Like I wrote small notes, but with always saying what I was feeling, and so writing is my way of expressing much more than speaking. So I wrote for forever. I've been writing forever. I won some competition for novel, short stories, not novel, short stories, when I was 14 and then 16. I won a couple of competitions in writing. So writing has always been my way of expressing. And when I became, I worked for competition. No, I worked for a comic film festival, comic comic book festival. And I met a lot of writers there, and I discovered that writing for comic books was merely the same as writing for cinema or for TV or for the other means. And then I met a guy who was writing for comic books, and we decided to write together. So I began by writing for comic books, and then I've been into screenwriting workshop with Yves Lavandier, who is pretty well known in the field. So I learned with him for 3 years, and I became a screenwriter. I just adore telling stories.
Um, yeah.
Oh my
How about how about being a script doctor? Because you also work as a script doctor for other writers. How did it come about? How did you discover it?
Yeah, that's big. After having done my workshop with Yves Lavandier and many years, 3 years, then when you learn how to write, when you learn a methodology, it's easier to be able to find out in other scripts what doesn't work. And what I really loved from this experience was you can be facing different universes which would not be yours, that you would not write in it, but then you can understand what the writers want to write. And at very early stage, I found out the difference between being a co-writer and a script doctor. And I used to say that the script doctor is helping you clean your garage, and the co-writer is bringing his bikes. So it's really different. When you're a script doctor, you don't enter into why did you choose this character, or let me develop more this character. You really are very, very interested in what the writers want to say. And that's like helping the writer to write his best or her best draft.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, it's amazing how that becomes a science somehow, like to practically analyze and organize a system of script writing. But when you started becoming a script doctor, was it easily welcomed by script writers? I
Uh,
was curious if they feel
Yeah,
like,
it's a great question because in France, for example, it took a lot of time, and even now I'm not sure it's so well known. More and more, fortunately, usually it's the producer who finds out that the script is not absolutely perfect to be shot, and the writer is tired because he or she has been writing for maybe years or at least months, that's for sure. And then another eye from outside can really see what doesn't work and what should be, corrected. And but I'm very, very careful with being respectful with what the writers want to say. When I went to the Philippines, it's not the first time I went abroad, but it's one of the first time. And then I had the opportunity to go to Brazil, to go to Senegal, to go to Marrakesh. So I've been giving screenwriting workshop all over the world. And one of the things that really struck me is when you arrive in a country, you cannot come and say, I'm going to tell you how to write, because you first need to be sensitive to what they write, to how they tell stories, because that's very personal. It's also cultural. So when I came to the Philippines, I remember, I think I went to watch a movie which was probably written by Ricky Lee and called The Nights with Serafina, something like that.
The Night of Serafina.
Yeah, The Night of Serafina. I knew the Lino de Broca movies, but I didn't know. But Lino de Broca movie were more even for a foreign audience. I mean, he was like the movies that came to Cannes, and it was like more, more. How would I say that? Thinking of the big audience. I think The Nights of Serafina, for example, was typically Filipino, and it was in Tagalog. I didn't have a subtitle, I think. So, but I liked it because I could really see. I'm not. I didn't base my class on this movie, obviously, but I thought it's interesting to see what Filipinos do. when I go to Senegal, what the African writer do, because it's not exactly the same everywhere. So what you really want to do when you're giving classes or when you're a script doctor for a movie, and that's what happens with Dreamago, because we have so many different nationalities, it's to really respect what the writer wants to do. You don't want to write a script that would just fit every culture and be so, I don't know, so classical or so there is not one way to write, is what I'm trying to say. And so with the tools of the writing, you can choose the tool you use, you can choose the one you don't use, but what you cannot do is you cannot do that if you don't know the tools. So you first need to know the tools, and then once you have all your tools in front of you, you can decide, I'm not going to use that one. Okay, I know it would be better for the writer, but for the reader or the viewer, but in this case, I don't want to use it. But it's not because you don't know it. It's because you know it and you choose not to. And that's very different. So that's why I still believe very much in structure. I believe very much in learning how to write a story. And I believe very much in giving the writer a freedom to say what he wants to say.
It's actually, I just want to mention that, it's actually amazing that you still remember the title of the movie that you saw when you came here in the Philippines, The Knights of Serafina.
Well,
That's a
you can.
that's a 90s film.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know that the Philippines was has been a very important moment for me, because I truly discovered another culture, and I truly discovered. We couldn't say that all the Filipinos have the same mentality, but I really met people who are eager to do the right thing, and that the only thing you want to give Filipinos is you want to give them the right to be themselves, and not to try to correspond to what they're expected to do. I remember very much when I first came to the workshop, and when we were doing exercises, some of them were doing exercises with trying to imagine a French protagonist, and I thought they don't trust the fact that their own protagonist can be interesting. So it's all about giving, and to all the writers, not only the Filipinos, but when I was there, I just found out that it was all about giving them confidence, giving them the right to tell the stories they want to say, and not trying to correspond. But that's also about colonization, because so many years of colonization make people, okay, what should I do to be accepted, And I think the work now is all to tell them that they are welcome to be themselves.
It's that's amazing. Thank you for saying that. It's a breath of fresh air to hear that from a foreigner's
Foreigner.
perspective. Yeah, like how you understood our behaviors sometimes, and the wealth of stories that we want to share, but sometimes we're kind of confused how to tell them, and that's amazing. Maybe I can already follow up with a question. And picking up from what you shared, that you remember these things, and they for you are also an opportunity to learn cultures and truths of others. I'm pretty curious. I can only imagine how many scripts have gone through your eyes already, and how you keep
I can't. If you
track.
know, tell me. I can't.
You can't also.
No.
So I can really, the burning passion is very obvious there, and maybe it's the right time to ask how you thought of founding Dreamago in relation to that.
Oh, yeah, that's very easy. I think it's also somehow because of my stay in the Philippines and in other country, because I very clearly remember that when I was in the Philippines afterwards, I was still keeping in touch with the students I had there, and the same with other country when I went to other country, and sometimes I discovered very nice project, and I thought, oh, that's going to be a great script, a great movie, and then I was getting in touch with them and say, so where are you with your movie now? And the answer was. Well, it's still in my cupboard. So I thought something is missing. There is a missing point between the writer and the movie, because everywhere in the world, the movie, the writer is discarded at some point, meaning that he or she has the idea in the beginning, and then we buy their script, and then we just send them, away. So the writer has literally no impact on the ending of what happens with the story he or she wrote. So what I really wanted to do is to accompany the writer from script to screen. And I saw there is something missing, which is first the development, because we don't invest enough money for development, and we don't really help development enough. So I thought we need that, and that's something I could do because I'm a screenwriter and a script doctor. So I thought this is the first step, a screenwriting workshop where we help the writers to achieve the best version of their script. And then I thought, but it's not enough. It needs then to be followed by meeting with producers. So that's how we created Plume and Pellicule, which is the screenwriting workshop, doubled with the film festival. And then I offered the writer 2 months to rewrite. And then if the script is better, we bring them to Meet Your Match. And Meet Your Match is a meeting with producers, which before the COVID, we used to go to Los Angeles with the writers, meeting producers during AFM, American Film Market. And because at the American Film Market, lots of producers from all over the world are there. And after the COVID, we discovered we couldn't travel that easily to Los Angeles. And then we decided to try it virtually. Truth should be said, it's been even more fruitful virtually, not on a personal level, because of course nothing can replace meeting in person and spending time in person, but about only the meeting with producers, that was very, very, very efficient, because it meant for the producer to only give 2 hours. No matter where they are, they can be in front of a computer and listen to 8 or 10 projects. So that's why we still continue. We will now continue, probably this year, virtually again, but we will try to renew with in presence, and that's going to be probably in 2025, so that we can make the mixture of meeting producers for real and meeting producers online at the same time, which would probably multiply the opportunity for the writers. So that's how it began. It began with the feeling of waste, the feeling of having help during a whole workshop, having help script, and then knowing that I stay in a cupboard. And I thought, if I stop writing for myself and I try to make movie happen in which I believe, I will feel better about myself than if I continue to write for TV and make a lot of money. And it's probably kind of selfish, because it was for my own personal blossoming.
Yeah. Not at all selfish, right, Cenon?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just curious, like, the 2024 Plume Pellicule is the 20th creative writers residency for Plume Pellicule. I'm just curious, like when you started it in the early 2000, in 2004, what were the challenges that you encountered? What were the difficulties and the hardships? I mean, putting it up for the first time, I'm sure, like, everybody was like, trying to, learn the ropes and everything, getting sponsorships and all, and nobody knew you. So I'm just curious, and how did you overcome these challenges?
I need to remember, because my problem is that I always remember good things. So the difficulties are really hard to remember. No, I can probably remember. What I know is that I first I didn't think I would do it in Switzerland. I'm Swiss, as you know, but I thought I can't be a prophet in my own country, and I'm sure that it's going to be too hard to organize there. So I had identified some places in Corsica, places in Cyprus, and where I could organize that. And someday I talked about that to someone in Switzerland and said, why don't you do that in Sierre, which is my hometown? So I said, well, because I think nobody's expecting me. And they said, well, you should try. And then it began like this. So I thought, oh, why not? And then I tried. And I always remember that the people were telling me, oh my God, it's too kind of complicated, too big. Because I had the first year, the vision of what it is now. So I truly pursue that because I thought it's going to happen. It's going to be first a screenwriting workshop, then a meeting with producer. I had that in mind. So I just basically followed my vision. And I think I'm quite lucky because for some reason, anytime I needed, it looks like new age kind of philosophy, but anytime I needed money or I needed a new investor or someone left and I needed to find another one, something introduced was on my way. I mean, I met someone that said, oh, maybe that person can help. And then, and it seemed to me from the very, very beginning that it was the right project with the right person at the right time. So truly, I gave an interview this year to television, and I still laugh when I'm thinking about it because I can't realize that was that way. But in this interview, they found out an old interview that I gave 20 years ago. And in this 20 years ago, I said, it's difficult to last 20 years because people change, and so funny to hear that I was saying 20 years, So I think it was, I don't have much merit because I think it's like, it's been a vision and just follow the vision. But yes, what is very difficult for me is asking for money every year, that's what I hate, but I know I need it. I would never be able to find money if it was for myself, but it's much more easy to find money for writers, for project I believe in, so I just focus on why I'm trying to find money. If not, I would never be able to find money.
So it takes a lot of your time, like, because as soon as like, one Plume Pellicule ends, as soon as it ends, you start organizing, you start raising funds, you start with, like, hiring the consultants and reading scripts from all over the world.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. Plus, we have a community in Paris, and we are having a screenwriting a screening every month in Paris with our members. So it means choosing short movies, inviting the directors, which are usually the writers for short movies. So yeah, it's a full community. There are members all over the world. So we are like 150 members, not so many, but I want to grow organically. I don't want to grow too quickly. I want to be still able to keep the essence, the DNA of Dreamago, which is humanistic, and we want to help movies that make a difference. Which is funny because when I say that to Stephen Frears, who is one of our patrons. I told him, what do you think about this, this line? We want to help movies that make a difference. He said, I'd rather begin to make movies that make a difference. so he was funny about that. But we have incredible patrons. We have Stephen Frears, who comes every year to our workshop. We have Benicio del Toro. We have Pete Lacaba. You may know Pete Lacaba. We have Guillermo Arriaga. We have Ricardo Darin. And Jorge Perogoria from Strawberry and Chocolate. So we have lots of patrons who really believe in what we're doing, and that helps when you're telling a filmmaker, can you come to Plume and Pellicule? Stephen Frears will be there. They absolutely adore it because he's such an important filmmaker.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. From what I'm hearing, Plume Pellicule and Dreamago started as a vision to help, to assist the writers, and you have continued doing it with that framework of helping. But over the years, can you say that there is a unique identity of this particular residency compared to the other residencies available around?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, it's the best one.
For
Of
sure.
Very,
course.
very modestly. No, yeah, it's very different. There are differences. First of all, the first year we had Plume and Pellicule, we only had it in French and English. I knew I would add Spanish, but I had to begin small to be able to have Spanish. So we have three languages, Spanish, French, and English. Which the difference between other residency is that it's truly international. We don't ask everybody to speak English. We don't ask everybody to speak French, and we don't ask everybody to speak Spanish. So we have translators, interpreter on site, which means that you can come to the residency even if you only speak Spanish, or even if you only speak French, which is opening even more the doors, because you're not implying that the writer should write in another language or talk in another language. There are only three languages because it's already very complicated, because we translate all the scripts in the three languages. So when you arrive to the castle, if you only speak Spanish, you can read you will have read all the scripts even in Spanish, because they are translated. So that's number one difference, because all the international organizations that I know, maybe there are some that I don't know and who are like us, but the one I know, they really ask people to speak English, which is a first thing. And then the writers have 6 mentors during the workshop, during the residency. And I am not organizing meeting between the mentors. So the mentors don't talk to each other about the script, so that the writer will meet fresh consultant each time. So he doesn't meet a consultant who's been talking with another consultant beforehand. So there is no consensus. So for a writer, if 6 persons says to him or her, your script, the ending of your script doesn't work, he better believe it, because there are 5 or 6 persons, very competent person, who haven't talked together, didn't decide on what to say to the writer, and they say the same things. So that's very important for me. And I've been a script doctor and a consultant in other screenwriting workshops in the world. And usually there are these meetings between consultants, and it's great when you're a consultant, because you feel so much better that you've been talking with the other consultant, they share your opinion, and then you even get some, oh yes, you think that this character doesn't work. Oh, I didn't see that, but you're right, it doesn't work. But then maybe if you haven't seen it, it's because it does work in some ways. And also this was very important, because I am always I'm always inviting consultant from English mother tongue, Spanish mother tongue, or French mother tongue, because as our writers are from all over the world, I think it's important that the writer can also talk to with their own language, and to someone who may be more sensitive to their material, because he or she comes from the same area or the same part of the world. So that's a very difficult balance, because of course you need to have the consultant available and wanting to come to join, which is not always the case. And they always want to, but they are not always available. And so yeah, that's the two main difference I see. Then another difference is that our workshop is also doubled with a film festival, which means that the writers have the opportunity to talk to writers that come to present their work, writers, director, actors. So maybe they are writing something and they were just looking for an actor, and they see the actor on screen, and they can talk to the actor in the evening around the dinner, you know. So it makes it for networking, but in a good way, like networking based on work, based on what they saw, based on the material, which is more deeper than just networking around a glass of champagne, or it's different. So that's what we want. We want to do something deep and that makes sense.
So
Amazing.
aside from English, French, and Spanish, so are you going to do it in Tagalog soon?
No, not really, because my Tagalog is very rich. I know Kumusta ka, I know Ingat, I know Ako ay si Pascal, but I couldn't really
Wow.
read a script in Tagalog, no.
Wow.
Mabuti, I know Mabuti. Maraming salamat, but it's a little short for a feature. It may go for a short, but not for a feature.
That's pretty impressive that you still remember Tagalog words. Amazing.
Well, of course. I mean, the Philippines is in my heart. If you don't see it because the camera is too close to me, but I had the barcada when I was there, and they are still on my wall here, close to Plume and Pellicule. So you
Oh,
have Filipinos there always.
amazing. And I also want to express appreciation for the intention to decenter. Even if you're coming from a Western perspective, you're very aware that you want to decenter the language use and all.
Yes,
That's
that's
very
true, and it's true. When I was in the Philippines, the very last day, I think it was the first year I was there. I had asked one of my students, I think it was H, to translate a few words that I would say, and I say them in Tagalog in the end of the. Well, it was like a phonetic. It was not really learning, but I bought all the dictionary. Tagalog, English, Tagalog, and I have them still here. Well, I didn't learn, but I had the book to learn Tagalog. So yes, I like when I go to a country, I like to try to really understand, and the language is something that help understanding people.
And I feel like it's very an intelligent decision to accommodate different languages in your residency. It's very subtle, but it really welcomes individuality and specificity of culture. That's truly amazing. I'm very, very interested to, I've been itching to ask this since
Okay.
you came in. Because as you know, in the Philippines, no matter how many women are engaged in the film industry, we can still detect some imbalances and difficulties of navigating as a woman, in either in the production or the writing or even the producing part. I'm interested to know if you encounter the same problems throughout your career there in
So yes, I think we really have to fight for equality. We have it's true that we receive basically we receive less project. Maybe it's changing a little bit from women than from men if you compare the whole stuff. The decision we have taken about Dreamago is as it's absolutely, and that's also something different from any other screenwriting workshop I know, is it's blind copy. We never know who wrote the script, so that is very important for me on an integrity level. Meaning, the disadvantage of that is that we cannot say we will take half women, half men. Of course, as it's blind copy, you have no means to check that. Sometimes you read a script and you think, oh my God, that's obviously written by a woman. And in the end, it's not by a woman, by a man. So you never know when it's like blind copy. So a couple of years ago, I received an email from a woman saying, I sent my script to Dreamago, to Plume and Pellicule. I haven't been selected. I'm sorry, but of course I understand. Now I want to tell you that I noticed that you are choosing so many more men. And so I answered her. I said, well, actually, thank you for saying that, but I don't know what you don't understand in blind copy. If it's blind copy, we cannot choose 5 men and 5 women. We only select 10 writers. And then I said, because you are telling me that, I'm going to check. And I've been checking from day one, from the first workshop, because we have, of course, all the list of the writers. And we had 115 men and 95 women, which I think, given how many projects we receive, it's basically it's quite balanced. Some years we have more. I think 2 years ago we had nearly only women, or 2 men only out of 10 writers. Last year in 2024, more men than women. But it depends of the year. It depends on yes, truly on the year. So about Dreamago itself, to answer your question, I would say that we are trying to choose the best project, no matter if man or woman. We love it when it's women because, of course, being a woman, I would like to help as many women as I can. It is like being Swiss. I would like to help as Swiss writers as I can. But as it is blind copy also for that aspect, we cannot choose. So we don't have always lots of Swiss, or we don't have always Swiss people in the workshop. It depends on the quality of the work sent to us. So that's for us. Now, again, as a guest this year, if you check the guests we had, I think we had so many more men. But if you check the guest we should have, the first guest that I had in mind that I invited, then you would see that there were more women, but they were not available. So we always need to have a perspective when you think about that. And truly, I do agree with the fact that it's harder for women. I think it's a little changing. I don't know how it is in the Philippines, but I notice some changes here in France, and I hope it goes towards the right direction. The right direction for me would be that we would just really help a project, no matter who wrote it. And it's not because you're a woman that you have problems, or it's not because you're a woman that you're selected. Like, not because you're Black that you should get something more, or not because you're Black you don't get in interesting. I think that is really the philosophy of Dreamago, is really equality between writers, between artists. But that's what we need to fight for when it's unfair. We really need to fight for, and absolutely need to fight to have the same salary, the same, because there's still a lot of work to do in this sense, about salary, about danger in being climbing, in a society, in a company. It's always more complicated for a woman. It's unfortunately it's still the case, at least in our country, but I think in yours too.
Yeah, but although
So don't give up. Don't ever give up. Don't give up.
Thank you. I needed that holding hand.
Yeah,
we are all women from all over the world, and we support you guys, girls.
Yes. I'm just wondering, why do you think that's the case? Like, more men submit scripts or entries than women. Why do
I
you
have
think
no
that's the
idea.
case?
I have no idea. And no, I truly have no idea. I don't know. We always ask, how did you know? Because we don't make a massive publicity. We want to still be able to I read all the scripts, so I don't want to receive 3,000. But because if I do receive 3,000, I need to change the way we do that, and I need to give up on reading everything, and I don't want to miss a pearl that's somewhere. And but so I don't know. I don't know if it doesn't reach the right communities. Maybe, I don't know. We should think about that. That maybe we should make publicity in women for film, in this kind of association. I haven't thought about that.
No, that's something to think about. Yeah, but let me just
Yes.
say, Cenon, if you have been part of two back-to-back editions of Plume Pellicule, it means you did really good in the in the pitching. Congratulations again for
Yeah,
participating.
Well,
yeah.
we
Thank
are
you.
very demanding in terms of selecting the script. And what I heard is that one of the writers this year had sent many years I didn't know. And then she's been selected this year with a script.
She kept submitting.
Oh, I am so curious who that person is.
She
No,
wrote, she wrote, she wrote, she wrote the macaronis.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, actually, that's also my question because I know that, like, because the process is like, blind reading. So there's no identification, there's no gender, there's no name, no whatsoever that would help you identify who the writer is. It's only after the selection that you get to know who the writer is when you are about to, like, to inform that person that they have been selected. So there must be, like, some people like that person that you just mentioned, who have been, like, submitting and submitting every year, and who, like, and they don't get in. My question is, what would your what would advise what advice would you give that person to finally be, like, be selected for Plume Pellicule?
Um,
How
Probably,
do how do you decide what projects to pick?
okay, so we have we have two main criteria. One is the meaning of the story, and it needs to be in our DNA, which is to give you an example. One year, we read a script which was very, very well written, but so very, very not for us. It was a script in Spanish from a Latin American writer, and it was the story of a guy, if I remember correctly, who decided in the morning that he would kill every person who would be wearing something red. So they said, so he was like killing everyone. So I said, oh my God, that's so not for us. And then, but it was very well written. The character was great, and it was interesting. It was a page turning, like you read the scripts very quickly. So I thought, wow, no way you're taking we are taking this person. But I want to warn him. I discovered it was a him. I want to warn him that it's not because he hasn't been selected that he's not good. I want him to know he's good, but it's not for us. So I called him. He was in Colombia, and I called him and I said, I just want you to know that please don't stop writing. You're a great writer, but it's not our DNA. There is no way we can take the script. So okay, so that year went by, and then the next year we had the selection again. We selected the scripts, and there is one we really loved. Everybody loved in the selection process. So, and then when it was time to write to the writer to say that he's been selected, when I typed his name on my computer, the address came right away, and I thought, how come I have his address already and I don't know him? And it was him, and he was selected with another script. And when I talked to him, I said, so what happened? And he said, well, when you said it was not your DNA, I checked on your DNA and I wrote a script to be selected. So, and he was selected. So, and now it's a movie. It's called Amelia la Secretaria. It's a Colombian movie. So the thing is, it's there is the meaning of the movie. What do you want to say with the movie? And if what you want to say with the movie is something aligned with our philosophy, with our DNA, then there is a first chance. And then the script needs to be in a particular situation. It needs to be sufficiently well written to justify being translated into two languages and to meet important mentors like Christopher Hampton, like all these people, Arturo Arango, and all these people. And it needs to be well written enough to be able to receive this comment, but it needs to still it needs to still need some work. So if we read a script, it only happens once during the 20 years that we think is ready. We say there is no way we are going to keep one room for the in the workshop for this writer because the script is already ready, nearly ready. Like you can always improve, but I mean practically ready. Then we propose to the writer to come directly to meet your match if it's the same, if we the same DNA. So it only happens once. It happened once. Now, yeah, it's about the two factor writing and the meaning.
I understand that aside from like the primary group of writers, like 8 or 9 or 10 writers, you also have other participants in the group, and I think you mentioned you described them as like they're good writers or the material is good, but it's not quite there yet, something like that, or
Mhm.
you call them like the crushers. Can you
Well,
explain
we don't we
the
yes we created this option uh,
Mhm.
right the first year of the workshop with a writer, a Greek writer called Spina Athanasiadis, and she sent a script that we adored. We really wanted to have it at the workshop, the first workshop of Plume and Pellicule. And like 3 weeks before the workshop, she said, "Oh, I have a new draft." And I said, "Okay, then send the new draft because there's no way we are going to work on your first draft if you have changed so many things." And we read the new draft and we didn't like it at all. And we thought, oh my God, if she had sent that one, we would never have selected her. So we thought, now, is she ready to understand what we're going to tell her? Will she be able to transform her script? Or will it be again something like that? So I thought we cannot take her for the whole week now, but we cannot say, oh, by the way, goodbye, you don't stay. So we decided that first year to create this kind of temporary or small workshop for someone who is not totally ready to be translated into the two languages, but but there is a big potential. And with the big potential, we open also the door to meet your match to this writer. Meaning, if this writer is managed to understand after 1 or 2 consultation, not as many consultation as everyone, because he or she only stays for 3 days. But if after that he gets the idea of what he needs to do and he changes his script and the script is ready, then he can also submit to meet your match. So it's still the door is still open, but we don't keep the writer the whole week because we think his script is not ready yet to be translated into 3 languages, and so that we don't have him meet the other consultant.
I'm
This
curious.
year, say it again.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and
I said this year we had 9 writers the whole stay because the level this year was a little lower from other years. I don't know why. It's like years. Last year it was so difficult to only take 10, and this year we took 9 and we took one crush. We say crush. It's a wrong term because people think that crush is the best one of all, but it's the crush is really one project that still needs a little more work.
like a runner-up, maybe.
Exactly, it's more a runner-up. Now in English we say runner-up, but it's still corazonada in Spanish and coup de cœur in French. So we still need, in French we couldn't find anything that would look like runner-up.
Yeah. In this meet your match component of the residency, what is the success rate of this? Like how many really get
We
to
have 15 movies made, 5 movies in pre-production. We had 2 writers who went to the Oscars, didn't get it. And we had 5 writers who won something in Nicole Fellowship, which is close to the Oscars. One won it. 2 had, I think, were a finalist and 2 quarter finalists, something like that. I don't have that in mind, but I mean, a lot of scripts are really recognized. For example, Colombia, the equivalent of, I don't know if you have that in the Philippines, the official help of the government for culture there is in Colombia, and the Department for Cinema. They noticed that we helped a lot of Colombian writer over the years. So after a couple of years, I've been invited as an expert for a selection in Colombia, in Bogota. And I met the people there and they said, oh, but we like your workshop. We see it from far away. But every time a writer from Colombia come to your workshop, when he comes back to Colombia, he received the help of this organism, the help to be making his movie. So they said, we noticed that the work made in Plume and Pellicule is so accurate that the writer comes with a so much better script, then we help him to make a movie. So they decided to create a fund or to integrate Dreamago in a fund, which means that every Colombian writer who is selected by Dreamago for Plume and Pellicule will receive from the government the price of his plane and one translation, because the writer needs to pay for his trip back and forward and also one translation, and the other one is taken by Dreamago. So so the Colombian have this automatic help if they are selected. It doesn't mean we are selecting more Colombian, because as I remind you, it's an anonymous process. So, but in case they are selected, they get this help from their government, which I think is great. And then we decided to try to organize, and we did organize a Plume and Pellicule in Colombia, only for Colombians. And we did that in 2019, unfortunately, right before the COVID. And then, of course, we stopped the event, but we did it once in February in Colombia, while we had our usual workshop in May in Switzerland. So we had 2 Plume and Pellicule in 2019.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really possible too.
That's
Yeah.
what we want to do. We want to export the brand. We want to now go to other countries, because everyone is asking us, oh, can't you organize a screenwriting workshop in our country? And so we are thinking of trying to really organize a screenwriting workshop in different countries.
Yeah. So, and these participants over the years, which maybe we can call alumni or graduates, or are they part of a network? Do they become a community afterwards?
Normally, well, it's very open, meaning we don't want to push people to be a member, because we want to have the right person. But it's true that I find it very kind of logical. If I was received in a workshop that invests in my project 40,000 euro, which is basically what it costs for 10 writers, which is it's a 400,000 workshop. So if I went to a workshop where I feel nurtured and I feel taken care of, and that after the workshop I still have people reading my material, because it doesn't exist in the world. Don't believe that. To have people read the material for free, it doesn't exist. I mean, when you're a writer, you can just send a script, and then did you receive it? Did you? And then or either you pay for it, or so. Dreamago is really nurturing writers. So yes, I think it's gratefulness, the idea of belonging to the workshop, to the community, for me is very important. But it's also important that the right person. So the people who don't feel like becoming a member, fine. I mean, we're not pursuing them, but I think it's good, because for them to be able to be in touch, to organize things together, because during the COVID, for example, we organized meeting online with Stephen Frears, with Christopher Hampton, with William Horberg, who produced Queen's Gambit, and also the talented Mr. Replay. So for all the members, we organize things. We used to organize during the COVID online, so that it's good, because some members, when they live far away, of course, they can never come to the meeting in Paris or in Los Angeles, but at least they belong to a community, and we can organize things virtually. That's one of the good things about the virtual thing, is that it has stopped all the barriers. It really helps people to be with each other, to know each other, and I think it's great.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned, like, that of course the writers are always, like, a lot of times, or many times, or sometimes the writers are the last to be acknowledged in a film project, etc. They are, like, at the bottom of the food chain. What advice would you give to writers who may be, like, doubting if they are in the right profession, if they want to continue writing or what, and what advice would you give to, like, aspiring writers?
I'm very careful with advices because when you give an advice without knowing the person, it's always it's kind of pretentious because that's my view. So I mean, not everyone share the same view. Um, I think if you're a writer, you writing has chosen you. It's not so much that you decide to be a writer. I think if the way you express yourself, the way you want to tell your stories, it makes you happy. That's what you should pursue. It's very difficult to think about the audience. It's difficult to think that I'm a writer and I'm writing, but I don't meet audience. I think you should spend your time reading other stuff, watching movies, and thinking of what you want to say, the story you want to say. And as much as you are stick to what you really want to say, I think there is room for any writers. Now, I'm very optimistic, so I know that it's difficult because it's not very recognized. That's not the most recognized profession. And to give an example, when people say that I'm only a writer, I'm not only the writer. Like I'm not much. I'm just a writer, you know. So I think writing is really not something you choose. I think it's something that chooses you. That it looks easy to say that, but um, I feel when I don't write for a certain time, I feel I miss the time. I miss writing. So I think it's about what makes you happy. I think life is too short to do something in pain. If you write, but you have such a pain, you don't have any pleasure. It's a really tough. I don't think you should continue. Now, if you write and you're happy with what you're writing, and you blossom when you're writing, you like the atmosphere. You need to be a little lonely because writing is a kind of lonely activity. But if you like that, if you're happy with writing, you should continue. You should read as many, even books on writing. If you're an aspiring writer, please believe that you need to be a sponge and you need to learn from everything. You need to learn from your own life. You need to learn from other writers. You need to learn from everywhere. So be a sponge and then you choose what makes sense to you. It looks a little general what I'm saying, but it's really, I deeply believe that writing is something so stick to your soul that you cannot decide you write. You can probably not avoid writing if you really want to write. I don't know if I answered your question. It was a
Yeah, yeah,
difficult
yeah.
question.
I understand. Yeah, yeah. It's almost natural that there's no other
Yes.
way to live but to write. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you can question that. But imagine if you were working in a factory, you would ask yourself the same question and doing the same gesture every day, the same thing. What happened to me is when I began, I think when I decided to create Dreamago, I was writing for TV. I didn't like what I saw when the movie was up on TV. I didn't even tell my friends, look at what I wrote and it's now on TV. And I had the feeling when I began on my computer every day that okay, let's go to the job. Let's do it. Let's have at least 5 scenes made by lunchtime or less than so. And then I realized that it was mechanical, like I didn't have any pleasure, and I thought that's not what I want to write. So at some point you need to be aligned with what you want to write and what you write. Of course, we all need to have some small work aside. We need to make a living, so we need to accept some jobs that we don't really enjoy. But I would advise the aspiring writer not to take a job that is consuming their energy. It's good to take a job aside because we need to have some security to write, and the rest of the soul, the soul resting, the tranquility of the soul, serenity of the soul is very important when you're writing. So give yourself the chance to be serene and to have the environment that will help you write. And to do that, some people need to work aside. Some people are lucky enough to have people who can provide for them. Depends on your situation. But never never underestimate the time you need to write. It's not only time of writing itself, but it's also time in thinking about it.
Uh, it's nice to hear all those words. Yeah, it's kind of validating, right, Cenon?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, one of the things that I remember that Pascal said before was that, like, writing is not the actual writing, not only the actual writing, but it's also, like, the time that you are thinking of what to write, that you spend, like, watching a movie, reading a book, having coffee, because your mind is always at work, and that's part of the process.
Exactly. I remember in another field, I remember Alberto Brescia, who was an incredible painter and sketcher. He used to do comic books. He was from Argentina, and he did, I think, 15 painting about Umberto Eco, The Name of the Rose. Beautiful painting. And I went to the exhibition. I knew him, and I went to the exhibition and said, "Oh my God, it's like incredible. So, how much time did you need to do all this incredible painting?" And he said 15 days. And I said, "What do you mean 15 days?" He said, "Yes, 15 days." But he's been thinking about it for 15 years, maybe. So when he began to paint, it was already in his mind. And I think it's exactly the same with writing. With writing script, it's also a technique. So you need to know the technique. But writing is much more about thinking about the story you want to say, about thinking of your character, about even talking in your mind with your character and trying to know them very well. And then when you begin to write, you're very astonished to see it comes very easily, or you have the impression it comes easily. It's because you've been thinking a lot before, I think.
Very,
Okay.
very well phrased. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now you are still working on. You are currently working on the Meteor match, the pitching to producers that will happen.
In
Because
November.
that's the that will happen in November. That's the second part of the workshop that you had from May to June of this year. And then, but you are also preparing for the Plume Pellicule for next year, for 2025, for the 21st edition of Plume
Exactly.
Pellicule. Yeah. Can you, like, share with the audience, with the viewers, when the deadline is, how to submit, or the website to check out, like, for the deadlines and the
Yes.
process.
You can submit from November 15 until January 15. So November 15, 2024, 15 of January 2025. It's better to send earlier because it's a little less expensive. It's not very expensive, but it still costs because we are paying the readers. So of course, it needs to be a script written. It can be a first version. Of course, it's better if it's a second or a third version because you are competing with other scripts. So if your first version is not achieved yet, not very well thought through, it will compete with scripts that are in the third version, maybe. So it might not be selected if the other scripts are more ready. It can be written in French, in English, or in Spanish. And the deadline is the 15th of January. And then I think the answer, because we need to read all the scripts, is probably 15th of March. I'm not sure. I think it's 15th of March that you get the answer. And then from then on, if you're selected, the script is translated into the other two languages, like in French and Spanish. And the workshop will be from the 10th to the 18th of June. It's a little smaller because we go back to the same timing as before the 20th anniversary. The 20th anniversary was a little longer. So we do that in June next year. Seems in a century, but it's nearly tomorrow, actually.
Yes, yes, actually. And I just want to share that, the first time when I submitted last year for Plume Pellicule, and I saw my script for the first time that translated from English to French and Spanish, and I took a picture of, like, took a picture of my script in printed out in French, Spanish, and English. I felt very happy and very excited, because as a writer, it's not very often that you see your scripts translated into, like, three different languages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
I think it's
that's a very exciting thing.
and I think it's one of the richest thing about the workshop is that we are all together in a castle. There is a beautiful castle. We're all together. That everybody in the castle has read all the scripts. I mean, I asked all my team to read all the selected scripts, and all the writers need to read all the other scripts because they have meeting with the other writers. So they have a one-on-one with the other writer. So basically, they have 15 consultation if you count the writer. So they have
And of course, like,
six consultant, and they receive a planning 15 days before. They receive a planning where they have they meet that writer on that time, that writer, that consultant, and all the planning, and they know exactly what they are doing. We don't let them 5 minutes not busy. And then in the evenings they have scripts, movies to watch, and so that they can talk to the writer and the director and the actors.
But I think also a lot of the consultations, a lot of the interactions also happen during lunch and dinner, or during, like, breaks, because it's that kind of environment. You are, like, you're in the castle. It's a very huge place with so many rooms, and like, so many like, a big space. But you walk around the place, and you are with other writers, or you are with other consultants, and you keep on, like, talking about your scripts or your experiences from your native countries. And a lot of the participants, we get to learn more from that. Because, like, again, like, the meetings and the consultations, it does not only happen, they don't only happen during the scheduled conversations, but beyond that and outside of that, like, walking to the town center for the film screening, and then we would be talking. Oh yeah, yeah, I thought something about your script, or something that you mentioned about my script, and then it just opens, like, a whole new conversation about that thing that enriches the whole experience. Yeah. And
I need to take you as an ambassador.
yeah. Uh, there has got to be like, more Filipinos who would write in Tagalog. So you would need to hire me
A
as your
translator.
Tagalog translator.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Who
and
knows? No, but it makes sense to tell Avie. It makes sense when somebody is selected. It happens in the past already, twice or come back, because it means that the selection process is sensitive to this universe. It means it makes sense. When we find sometimes we saw two American writers who came, I think, 2 or 3 times in a row, or not in a row, but 3 times at least. And then when they, we love that script, and then when we discover, oh my God, it's them, we know them. But it makes sense. It's not, we don't choose them because we know them, because we don't know it's them, but we choose them because we are sensitive to their material, and it makes sense because it makes sense. And I always like when I find out it's the same writer, it's a writer we already had, because it means we are consistent, and it means that we are helping a writer to really go to the end of the process, of the chain of making it happen. So I think it makes sense. It can be seen differently from outside. They say, oh yeah, okay, he or she has already come, so they took him or her again. But it has nothing to do like that. I mean, it's not that meaning. The meaning is because we're probably sensitive to the material, we're not astonished. Oh yeah, oh, now I'm not astonished to see it's the same writer. But it's not about coming back like because you like the person. It has nothing to do with that, which is very important for us.
Yeah, it means you have a pretty solid brand of writing
Yeah.
that promoting.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and
And
maybe
we are very
It's blind. I mean, no identification whatsoever on the material that you are going to submit. So they will never
we had a
know.
nice story about that, and then I should probably go, but we have a nice story to say about that. One day we had during the selection process in French. Well, I was exchanging with a director who has helped us a lot by doing some small video to announce the festival, the film festival, and the screenwriting workshop years ago, like during 2 or 3 years in a row, for free. And he was a very nice director, very great guy. So we were preparing an announce for the next workshop, and then so one of the actor, which was a well-known actor, Jacques Gamblin, was about to play for us for this small video. And then so he told me, I'm not available on the 4th, I'm available on the 5th. So I said, oh, okay. So I just TM'd in Messenger the director, and I said, oh, I have a bad news. And then I hit send. And then I was about to say, Jacques cannot on the 5th, he can on the 4th, like explaining. But after having sent, he was in front of his computer, and when I said, I have a bad news, he said, oh, my script hasn't been selected. I said, what are you talking about? I didn't even know you had sent a script. So I was like, I was really, really crazy and mad. And so each script I read in French, I said, is it him? Is it not? It's him. It's not. It's him. It's not. I was trying to find. And one script I found, I said, oh, that's him. It's his humor. It's him. I'm sure it's him. So, but the script was not good enough. So I said, oh my God, it's not good enough. So when we had the selection process, I said, okay, listen, I recognize, I know it's him. And the rest of the selectors told me, well, we cannot take that script. I said, no, I know we cannot take it, but I want you to know that I'm desperate because it's him, and he's doing so many things for us, and I know I'm going to say no, but it's very hard for me to say no to him. But I will, of course, obviously, we cannot take the script. I agree with you. So, and then there is another script which happened in Africa, which was everybody loved and say, oh my God, it's a great script. And so, and I said, and plus, I'm very happy to have an African writer because we don't have so many African writers, probably because also the trip to Switzerland is expensive. We cannot take that in charge because we have so many other things to pay. But anyway, so I said, when it was over, I said, can you give me the phone number or the email address of the African writer to tell him that he's been selected? And so the the head of logistic, who is the only one who knows who wrote what, because of course somebody needs to know, but she doesn't read the script. She told me, she laughed and she said, it's that director. And I said, what do you mean? I mean, the script happens in Africa. I said, yes, but it's him. I said, but who wrote the other one that I thought it was him? And she said, oh, it's another writer, it's a she writer that I didn't know at all. And so I was, oh my God. And so when he came to the workshop, everybody was calling him Mamadou Braque, which is his name. I said, instead of his own name, because they were all laughing. We thought we had selected an African writer. The thing I wanted to say with this small anecdote is then when you, as a reader, you see on the list of the selected person, you see the name of that director. You know that director has made many movies for us, small movies to announce the workshop. You think, well, of course, they've taken him. Though it didn't happen that way. We thought he was not selected, and he was, because it's not the script we thought, So that's why we really want to be absolutely hermetic about and integrity. I love to say I'm an integrist of integrity, because really I want that to be absolutely blind copy.
Okay. You're
Maybe we can request you, Pascal, to invite the Filipino listeners to.
Yes. I want to invite every good Filipino writer to send a script to Plume and Pellicule. And I had tried that because I tried to put a publicity 2 years ago in Filipino Facebook community. And I sent some visual and some small movies that you can all find on dreamago.com. And we also have a Facebook page, so you can be going to this Facebook page where we also put when it's a time to send your script.
okay. Before we say goodbye, do you have any last words, words of encouragement?
Well, I would say all the writers that are writing in the Philippines, sige, sige, sige.
Okay, that's about that.
Piliapanga. I know, see, Piliapanga. I know that. I know how to say Piliapanga. So yes,
Okay.
the only way to be selected is to write a good script. So yes, write, rewrite, and I can give you a tip. Think of what you really want to say, and try to find out if what you say is really what you wanted to say. That's very important.
That's that's very good. That's very good. Okay, that's all the time that we have now. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Screen Cap is available on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel at Screen Cap. We are also available on podcast on Amazon, on Spotify, on Apple Music, or any podcast channel that you may have. Again, this is Screen Cap. I'm Cenon,
I'm Avie.
and we have Pascal. Thank you very much. Until next
Thank you very
time.
much to both of you, and have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.